Hey there guys, gals, non-binary pals, GM Potter here. Welcome to my channel where I discuss books, bookish things, and writing. As you may have noticed behind me, I'm in the middle of querying and trying to sell my novel. I am batch filming today, so I'm sorry if you've heard this before. I upload most Thursdays and try to alternate Tuesdays with some extras sprinkled in. So, today we are discussing a self-help book that was recommended to me when I was in sales, very briefly. Very briefly. It is by Grant Cardone, The 10X Mentor. Let's get into it. Okay, so this isn't the 10X Principle. This is the 10X Mentor, which is an audiobook version that's narrated by him. It came out in 2022. And he makes one solid point, and that is that you take your goal, you take what you need to do. I was supposed to sell 8 cars a month. Okay, 8 cars a month. I can do that. Well, let's take that goal, let's take that benchmark, and let's multiply it by 10. Instead of shooting for 8 cars, let's shoot for 80 cars. Let's work harder, let's move faster, let's hustle harder. And the idea is that you'll get a lot further along than if you stuck with 8. Because if I get to 8, I'm at 7, I'm starting to get comfy. Like, if it's the end of the month, I might be pushing more, but at the beginning of the month, I've only got to sell 8. That thinking leads to mediocrity. And in sales, it's very important to have lofty goals. Even if you don't hit 80, you'll get a lot further along than if you stuck with 8. That's a great idea. When I was looking for a job, the last time I was on unemployment, they said to look for 5 jobs a week. I made it my goal to look for 50. That was before this. I just set a lofty goal. I hit it. I got a job. I was fine. I'm gonna be fine. But this book feels mostly like I'm being yelled at. It is 5 hours of yelling at me about multiplying my goals, sprinkled in with some conspiracy theories and religious manipulation and just cuckoo banana pants kind of stuff. So, yeah, the main point, the 10X idea, is a good idea. And if you have a goal and you're not sure where to start or whatever, it's a good idea. It's that whole shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars that we were told as kids. Like, it's that idea. He just gave it better PR, which is kind of Grant Cardone's thing. You may have heard of Grant Cardone. He's really big in the MLM, meaning multi-level marketing sphere. He does a lot of conferences, a lot of getting people riled up to go do sales and recruiting and that kind of nonsense and foolishness. I do not stand in MLM. I was in one. It was awful. Because I didn't want to recruit people. I'm like, no, I'm here to sell. Like, if I'm making money on recruiting people, isn't that a pyramid scheme kind of deal? So, it didn't work out. I wanted it to. I tried really, 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 really hard. It did not work out. So, yeah. Anyway, that's who Grant Cardone is. He essentially used the 10X principle to get his wife, possibly ex-wife now, I'm not sure. I don't keep up with him, but I had heard at one point that he might be getting divorced or is divorced, to marry him by not taking no for an answer. He openly admits to having stalked her and worn her down. I'm like, that's not okay. He talks about that in this book. And I was listening to this on my drive to and from the office. it made me uncomfortable because, yeah, it should. Um, but honestly, this book could have been a pamphlet. Like, yeah, I used an Audible credit on this book. Oops. I had several extra because I was in a reading slump for a while. Woo! Bipolar 2 depression! So, yeah, I was recommended this book. I wasted an Audible credit on it. It could have been a pamphlet. But is the bare bones non-10x part of the book, like 10x, right? This is a 5-hour long audiobook. It could have been 5 minutes. Like, I know 5 minutes is not, 5 minutes times 10 is not 5 hours. Just go with it. Pretend the math works. This could have been a 5-minute read pamphlet and gotten all of the same information across. Instead, he decided to waste everyone's Audible credits and time is really the only resource we have, he says that in the book, on yelling at us. Because I think he gets off on it. I don't know. So, have you read anything by Grant Cardone? I didn't read it, I listened to it, but I think that counts as reading. The Closer's Handbook or Closer's Almanac. He calls it like 4 different things, and the title on Audible is different from what he calls it within the book. It was a whole bunch of closing spiels to go over. It was like 100 plus closing spiels. And I'm like, yeah, these are effective, but I'd feel slimy. Like, maybe I'm not a good salesman. Maybe I have too many morals and too firm an ethical compass to be a good salesman. Like, I could. I've done sales and retail. We called it building the basket. I've built the basket before, and I was really good at it. But I used the shoe trick. Someone comes in, you glance at their shoes as you say hi. That's how you judge how much they have to spend. Not by the brand of shoes, but how worn the shoes are. People with money to burn tend not to wear out their shoes because they've got a lot of shoes. And they're expensive shoes. They're well-made shoes. I should say, not expensive shoes, but well-made shoes. People who respect quality, but are on a budget, will have good shoes that are kind of worn down. People who don't have money to burn, that you should take over to the mass cosmetic side instead of the prestige cosmetic side, are wearing the kind of shoes I wear. Oops. So that was how I did that, and I never got told no. Because I was good at my job. Because I was good at figuring out how much a person had to spend. And I did not do well in car sales. Because it was all about getting them to spend the most amount of money possible and getting them to finance it. And I don't mess around with debt. I'm in debt. I admit that. I don't want to be in debt. I want to get out of debt. I'm trying to get out of debt. Because it makes me uncomfortable. So, anyway, rant and rave and tangents aside, have you read or listened to anything by Grant Cardone? Heavens forbid, have you been to any of his conferences or seen them? Are you familiar with Grant Cardone? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!